Hi, so in this video, or Waffle, I'm going to talk about the Mando Retro Collection. Some have described it as a what-if collection, that, you know, it's a retro collection without the actual retro, or the actual figures being produced before back in the day. So the figures are made in that sort of style, as if Kenner made them back in around 87 maybe, if Kenner had kept on making figures, and if the Mandalorian had been made in the early or late 80s. But it's a nice set of figures. I mean, I like them. I mean, I saw Boss Bounty video and he went through the set, and I decided last maybe Sunday or Monday to order them. And originally I was going to get them on Star Action, then I'd switch to ID Toys because it wasn't much difference. It was 65 on Star Action and you had to pay the postage, or 68 on ID for all 7 with free postage. So I went with ID Toys. So you've got all 7 there. You've got Moff Gideon, IG-11, Yoda the child. You got the Mandalorian, Cara Dune. I mean, Cara Dune was a figure. I mean, obviously, what's all happened with her, and you know, I tried to get her on the Vintage Collection and all of that, sort of the Black Series, and the prices just rocketed on that figure. So I'm glad I've got a Cara Dune figure, even if it's on the Retro Collection, because it's got the same card as the Vintage Collection release. Even though there's 2 VC releases, there's the original version plus the carbonized. Then you've got Krill, and you've got Grief Karga. So yeah, I mean, they came quite fast, because I mean, people put pre-orders in around November and they're still coming in, whereas I just ordered a week ago and my lot have come in. So yeah, I can't complain. I mean, there's been a couple of interesting videos about these figures, one by Spectre Creative and one by Tidarium Hanger. So I think you should watch those 2 videos because they make valid points about this line of figures. I mean, what Spectre Creative says is that the figure should have had cloth accessories rather than vinyl capes like Grief Karga and Moff Gideon, and obviously the Mandalorian figure. He's got a vinyl cape, but you know, the early figures up to the sort of midway through the Empire Strikes Back all came with vinyl capes. The Snowtrooper, the Lando Calrissian in Bespin fatigues, or outfit rather, and you know, it's only with the Argonaut. I mean, obviously they set the precedent with the Jawa. They switched that to cloth in 78, and then we were getting a lot of vinyl capes for Ben Kenobi, Darth Vader, and then some of the early Empire Strikes Back figures, the Snowtroopers little skirt. And so Kenner or Hasbro have decided to make these, or give them more of a retro feel rather than a modern feel. Because I mean, with the Vintage Collection figures, they can give those either plastic sculpted capes or cloth capes, and that would be the modern iteration. But I mean, what he argues, Spectre Creative says, is like these figures would have come around 87 maybe, sort of after Return of the Jedi, and by then Kenner had switched to using cloth with most of the Return of the Jedi figures. I mean, he does like the plastic used by Hasbro in this line of figures, not just this lot, the Star Wars wave and the Empire Strikes Back figures. He does make a point about the Mandalorian being in his sort of first episode outfit rather than, you know, as we see him most of the time in his Beskar armor. But that's no problem for me. I like this figure. I mean, I like the outfit, and the card back's great. It's just like what came on the vintage collection. I mean, I'm a carded collector, so these are going to stay on cards. So, you know, that's the first child I've had. So, I mean, there's been a few. There's been the Black Series. They've, you know, but I haven't really picked them up. So, and this one is the largest figure produced so far. So it's larger than the Black Series, which is a larger scale. So, but I mean, Kenner would have done that back in the day. They would have probably made the figure more in scale with the 3.75 figures. I mean, it's accuracy is not what we're all about. I mean, it's quite a nice little figure with the frog, the base, and the pod. I mean, the IG-11 is very reminiscent of the vintage IG-88, and I mean that this gives Hasbro the chance down the line to sort of repurpose the mold and put out an IG-88 figure on an Empire Strikes Back card, which would be really nice. So yeah, I'm glad I picked these up. I mean, I was hesitant, but you know, because it was quite a big, you know, 65 quid for the whole lot, or 68. And yeah, but I wanted the Cara Dune definitely because of what's happened. You know, she's been blacklisted by or erased from history in a sort of very totalitarian fashion by Disney. I mean, yes, they weren't issued in the past, but you know, this is a what if. What if Kenner had done a line of figures based on the Mandalorian, and this is what might have been produced. I mean, the colours are quite lurid. I mean, Quill is one that stands out, but they pretty much, I think they definitely, I mean, if you took them out of the packaging and lined them up with vintage Star Wars figures, you know, they would blend in quite well. So I think it works on that sort of, you know, level. But I know some other YouTube channels are going to be quite dismissive of these figures and quite, you know, like they were never issued in the past, so why is Disney going with these figures now? I mean, I think the reason they're doing that is because the Mandalorian series is generally or universally appreciated and liked, and if you think of the movies, there's been quite a lot of negativity associated with those movies, and you know, a lot of the 3.75, the false link figures, just remained unsold, you know, because the films are kind of you know, have split the fandom in a way. So this Mandalorian so far is not fan dividing. It's popular with hardcore fans and casual viewers so far. So it's generally universally liked, and you know, Hasbro's probably thinking, here at least we've got something that's popular rather than, you know, The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker, which have sort of alienated a lot of fans. You know, I mean, hopefully Disney don't ruin The Mandalorian and put in a load of you know, politics that no one wants in their Star Wars. You know, Star Wars is a galaxy far, far away. We don't want to have all the problems that are going on this planet shoved in our face, you know. So at the moment, the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian have been really well received, so hopefully Disney will not stick its Marxist stirring spoon into the mix and ruin things. The other channel, the video that I thought was quite good was Tidarium Hanger, and he talks about the figures, the Star Wars wave, the Empire Strikes Back wave, and saying, you know, that Empire wave was better. But soon after those figures appeared, they were on clearance in Walmart. Obviously he's an American, because over here, I mean, the figures are still full price if you can find them in store. I mean, I was in Sainsbury's on Friday, and you know, they had a few of the Empire Strikes Back wave figures, and I thought they were being reduced to £6.70. It's only when I looked closely at the label on the shelf that it said GRA, so it was the Galaxy of Adventure figures. So, you know, but a lot of those figures were beat up, the cards and the blisters, so, you know, but Sainsbury's is still charging full price. I guess the same in Asda, if you can ever find them there. I mean, according to him, the Yoda figure, the child, will be the most, Baby Yoda will be the most popular. Then, you know, but I mean, really, he argues, and many would agree, that Hasbro should have focused on the original 96 figures rather than pulling a what if set, which are these figures. But you know, the Mandalorian is a breath of fresh air since Disney took over Star Wars. This is something that is popular. You know, this is a line that really, you know, is, you know, watchable and popular with people of my generation, Generation X, and younger viewers and casual viewers and hardcore Star Wars fans. So it makes sense from that point of view that, you know, Hasbro would push the Mandalorian heavily. I mean, you're going to get most of these figures on Vintage Collection cards, so I definitely know there's a Grief Karga. Obviously, you've had the Cara Dune, the Mandalorian. Moff Gideon's been out as well. So, you know, you're going to get all of these figures on Vintage Collection cards, probably with the same image as well. But then again, if you think about the actual vintage line of Kenner from 1978 to 85, a lot of those figures I never had as a child, but I still have a sort of nostalgia for them, even though I didn't have them. Obviously I learnt about them in books and stuff like that, and you know, I've collected them subsequently, and so, you know, it's all down to your personal taste. Do these figures appeal to you or not? I mean, I decided quite late to get them. It was last week, probably on the Sunday, that I decided to order them. So yeah, and they arrived pretty quickly, so good. Yeah, I mean, the final decider will be down to finances. It's £68 plus, or £70 really, because their retail is going to be £10 each. I think these have appeared in Smith's Toys as well, and so it's £10 each for each figure, so that's 70 quid for the full set, and that's quite a lot of money. I mean, you could get one vintage graded figure for that, loose graded, or some Vintage Collection figures, or some Black Series. It's totally up to you. I mean, I'm glad I picked these up, and so there we go, all 7 of them. So yeah, time to stop waffling, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video, listening to me witter on about, you know, because they are nice figures, I think. I mean, I think the ones I like the most are the Mandalorian, IG-11, Cara Dune. Those three, I think. Anyway, cheers, goodbye.